Gate is an anime where a portal between our world and a fantasy one opens up, leading to a clash between magic and modernization. I've never actually seen the series though, outside of these clips. What I saw was more than enough for me to want to make my own version in Arma 3 though, so that's exactly what I did, with a few key differences. First off, the portals opened in 1930s America, so Tommy gun-wielding US troops are the ones exploring this fantasy world. Secondly, the fantasy races are mainly copper and gold-skinned humanoids, instead of hot elves. And finally, to make things more interesting, there's a lot of monsters in this world just waiting to chomp on human bones. So, with the world built, I gathered 30 players to form an infantry platoon ready to jump through the portal and see what waited on the other side. Now, the army had already secured a beachhead through the portal and had established several outposts nearby it, but they were spread very thin, so to start things off, our players were assigned a very straightforward mission. Move north of the portal and reach Camp Sherman, which recently went dark and stopped responding to radio transmissions. The camp sits right on the edge of explored territory, a dangerous frontier crawling with hostile tribes and monsters hungry for human flesh. The platoon will therefore have to fight their way to the camp and find out what's happened to the soldiers stationed there. There's safety in numbers at least, so our players are split across 5 squads. Among these squads, we'll be following 4 key perspectives. First through Soldier and Apple, the phalanx squad leader and pioneer. Secondly through Middix, a scout and medic in the recon element. And finally through Wise, a rifleman from Legion. Now further march north, the platoon had split themselves across 2 groups. Razor, the 4-man recon team Middix was part of, had pushed a few hundred meters ahead to scout the way, while the rest of the platoon stuck together behind them. Very quickly, this main group began hearing strange noises around them.
That better be just a bird.
Birds weren't making those noises, though.
Oh shit.
No, not you.
A horde of these creatures were storming towards the platoon, ready to tear them limb from limb, so they lined up to defend themselves.
We managed to pass by that contact there.
Oh shit. Head down.
These creatures attacking them were extremely strong, capable of taking a shotgun blast to the chest without going down.
Ow, motherfucker.
The soldiers were starting to take casualties. The White Devils would take a chunk out of someone and knock them out. Still, firepower saved the day, and dumping a full Thompson mag into the beasts brought them down. The main platoon was pretty heavily wounded after their encounter with the local fauna and had to spend some time getting their injured up. Now, while they were fighting for their lives, the recon element had kept advancing along the road, though soon a literal tree fell on their heads.
I'm okay.
It was the sign of an ambush. A local tribe had been waiting along the road for travelers to spring their trap and were now rushing towards the scouts. While they were focused on the warriors in front of them, those behind finally closed in. One of the scouts was heavily wounded after the fight, and worse, they could see more tribespeople through the forest, so they made the executive decision to pick up their wounded member and make a break for it down the road. Luckily for them, these tribesmen weren't coming at them, but instead were focused on the gunfire they'd heard from the main group. The platoon's firepower was more than enough to stop the tribesmen attack in its tracks. Most of the warriors never even reached their line. Still, they were learning though, and while most of the force hit the platoon head-on, a small contingent flanked from the sides and managed to breach the line.
Close, close, close!
These warriors didn't do much damage with their attack and only took out a single US soldier, but their flanking and use of trees as cover showed that they were already adapting to fighting firearms. Camp Sherman had probably had run-ins with these groups in the past. Before we go any further though, I want to give a quick shout out to pingplayers.com, the server hosting platform that I wish existed back when I first tried running modded missions in Arma. If you've ever tried hosting any multiplayer games for your friends, you know the pain. Hours of work that just lead to config files exploding, forts breaking, mods not loading, all of this leading you to do a ritual sacrifice just to get things moving. Thankfully, Ping Players gets rid of all of that. You can literally pick your game and spin up a server in under a minute. It's that fast. And if you're still not convinced, let me tell you about the fact that they have over 20 global locations, no mod limits, and in case you need any help, you've got 24/7 human support. And best of all, you can switch games at any time without buying a new server. So if you want to be able to host events like I do, check out pingplayers.com using the link in the description. And also use my code ORyan35 for 35% off your first server. A massive thank you to Ping Players for supporting the channel. Now let's get back through the portal. Anyway, the recon element kept pushing forward.
Albino, southwest.
They spotted one of the albino creatures stalking them, but instead of attacking, it let them walk past. After the last fight, it must have learned that humans with guns weren't really worth the hassle. Not all the creatures along the way had learned that lesson yet, though.
Oh, there's something. That's
It's a deer
something.
man. It's a deer man. It's a deer man.
Visualize raises in contact with something. Oh, it's a deer man.
Deer man. Show. Oh, I got it. It might have a mate. I take its deer head. It's got another friend.
Killing it seemed to piss off its relatives.
Oh, there's two. There's three. Pull back.
Goodbye, everyone.
Deer men.
These creatures were a lot more fragile than the albinos, so after a brief skirmish, the rest backed off. After that, the scouts went back on the move and soon reached their objective, Camp Sherman.
That might be the camp, honestly.
Yeah, these are sandbags, yeah. Yeah, this might be Camp Sherman. Oh, what the hell happened
Oh,
to this
there's a
guy?
massive blood spot.
Obama, do you see this?
Oh, that's an actual guy. Oh.
Oh my god, there's multiple Obama.
Something had clearly gone wrong here. There were signs of some kind of battle, with scorch marks scattered around the camp. Worse still, there were corpses in the scorch marks that were so burned they were unrecognizable. But there was only about 8 corpses in total, which is far under the 30-man garrison the camp was meant to have. There was bloodstains everywhere, but where were the bodies? It wasn't long before the rest of the platoon showed up and helped search the base. They found the camp commander's notes on the area, which didn't have any clear answers on what happened, but did give some leads to follow up on. First, to the west of the camp, 5 of the garrison soldiers had been sent to set up an observation post in an abandoned castle. If our platoon was lucky, maybe they'd still be there and would have some answers on what happened. Secondly, to the east, the camp commander had found some kind of strange shrine, and the day before the incident, he'd sent an 8-man squad to go investigate it. Maybe the platoon would be able to find some answers there. And finally, to the north of the camp, the commander had reported that a wooden fort was being built by some of the locals. Maybe they'd attacked the camp and were holding the garrison hostage inside. The platoon lead decided he wanted to investigate every one of these sites, so he split his force up. Group 1, composed of Phalanx, Knight, and Echo, would head west to the castle, while Group 2, composed of Legion and the Scouts, would head east and check on the shrine. And once both sites were investigated, the two groups would converge on the northern fort. So, both groups set off at the same time, desperate to get some answers. Group 1's route to the castle was pretty uneventful, and to their surprise, some US soldiers were still alive inside.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
I don't recognize you. Who are you?
We're from the platoon that got sent to investigate Camp Sherman.
Me and Nielsen are from the camp garrison. We got sent here a few days ago to scout this place out. There was 5 of us at first, but the Sarge took 2 guys back to the camp to see what was going on. Did you guys see them on the way here? Unbeknownst to Group 1, that actually narrowly passed by the 3 missing castle soldiers, who'd been ambushed on their way back to Camp Sherman by some of the locals.
So what's going on?
I don't know. We lost contact with the camp like 2 days ago, and we've just been stranded here since.
Alright. You might want to tag along with us.
So with some survivors located, Group 1 absorbed them into their group and began making their way to the northern fort when they were suddenly descended upon by tribesmen. These tribesmen had been stalking them since they left the camp, just waiting for their chance to strike, and once again they were taking it when an attack from the rear.
Contact rear, hold, deal with engagements.
Fucking A.
Group 1 had successfully defeated the tribesmen's vanguard, but a whole raiding force had set out and was descending on their position. They had to stand and fight.
North fire.
The tribesmen may have been adapting to the platoon's fighting style, but some members of the platoon had started adopting the tribesmen's, taking their swords when they were low on ammo.
Cool. I swear to God.
George.
Look, Phalanx, focus on the guys northeast and north.
Withdraw southwest 9 Phalanx. Pull back up the hill.
Up the hill, fuck.
The soldiers were encircled and being attacked from every direction, leading to a chaotic fight. Those who stayed together and watched each other's backs were safe, but those who got caught alone were less fortunate. The platoon lead decided a fighting retreat was the only option out. There were too many enemies bearing down on them, and ammo was becoming a concern, so they started shooting while marching down the hill.
Let's try and not get stagnant.
Their fighting retreat worked, they'd successfully broken out of the encirclement, and were now heading north. Meanwhile, Group 2 had a very different experience. They had been making their way towards a shrine when something got in their way.
Razor, a massive fuck-off explosion just happened in front of us. Oh, vodka, get back.
Smoke powder coming.
It's heading towards you, about.
The giant shadow worm had seemingly fled after managing to eat one of the soldiers. It wasn't dead, but it was in too much pain to try and get more of them. Still, Group 2 had suffered some serious damage from that worm alone, and after pushing forward a bit more, they came face to face with a demonic statue that screeched at them. The platoon lead wasn't with them, so instead the two squad leaders got together and decided They decided to lie to their commander and say there was no shrine out here, and instead they began heading north towards the fort. The two groups converged at roughly the same time. The locals here looked different from the tribesmen the platoon had been fighting so far, so they decided to give diplomacy a shot instead of opening fire.
No hablo español.
These locals didn't seem hostile, so the commander came to parley himself, but without sharing a language, communication was almost impossible.
My friend, may we come into your fort? My friend, we are friendly. We've been fighting people who are trying to hurt us. Can we come in your fort?
The platoon commander wanted to come into the fort, no one knew what the golden-faced fort commander was asking, and overall, very little info was exchanged. Still, the fact that both sides had tried to talk to each other instead of just attacking was a big step. If the United States could learn the local language, then just maybe they'd be able to strike a deal with these people and learn more about this world. Anyway, after attempting to talk to each other for a while, it was clear the missing garrison was not being held in the fort, so the platoon began heading back to Camp Sherman. The platoon commander had noticed the fort's guards were all armed and on high alert, and as they left the camp, he realized why when he pulled out his binoculars. Dozens of orange-faced tribesmen were stalking the platoon from afar. The local tribes must have been assembling a massive war party to get the US troops out of the region for good, so the platoon rushed back to Camp Sherman and began digging trenches and setting up fortifications. If they had to fight, Camp Sherman would be their battleground of choice, that they would defend with everything they had. The platoon's defenses were as follows. Phalanx would hold the road north, Knight would hold the road south, and the rest of the unit would hold between them, firing both east and west. A lot of the trenches would remain unmanned, but the advantage was that the soldiers would have clear open ground to shoot into, with minimal cover for the enemy. When the attack did finally come, it was morning, a wolf howl marking its beginning. Over 100 tribesmen began descending on the camp from all sides. The attack started from the east, with dozens of tribesmen descending from the hill. The central soldiers let them get close, and then opened fire. It was a proper shooting gallery, with the tribespeople being cut down by the dozen. Simultaneously, Phalanx was in combat to the north. Tribesmen had been using the low ground to try and bypass them, but charged at the squad when spotted. The terrain made it easy for the tribesmen to close in though, leading to some deadly consequences. Thankfully, Apple was still alive and woke back up. The sword planted in his skull had knocked him out instead of killing him. The squad's brush with death made them decide to fall back into the camp instead, so they took up positions on the trench line. With their first wave failing to break the platoon's resolve, the tribesmen deployed one of their aces, a pair of shamans. They were slowly walking down the hill while being shot, somehow impervious to the bullets, and they were using some kind of mental range attack against our soldiers. Middix and his team fell back, unsure of how to deal with these guys, until someone had the idea to stab them. It seems they were impervious to ranged attacks, but very vulnerable to melee. At this point, there was a short pause in the fighting, as the tribals prepared their next assault. The platoon reformed their defensive line and decided to man every trench they had, in case the locals had some more surprises like the shamans. When the attack did start again, it came from every side.
Damn savages.
The soldiers who were low on ammo took up swords instead and sparred in the open, buying time for their friends to shoot. And shoot they did. Bullets were flying in every direction out of the camp. A massive wave of enemies soon came over the southern hill. Every soldier in the camp focused fire on them to thin them out. Even with that wave stopped and dozens of dead tribesmen, the attack wasn't done. The tribals sent in their champion, a golden-winged warrior, to defeat the platoon for good.
I'm taking action! I gotta go!
Oh, never mind, that's friendly.
Legion has lost its medic.
Demon Southwest! Holy shit! What the?
The men abandoned their trench line to him as he sliced through their bullets. Giant leaps put him right in the platoon's line, and panic was setting in. Two brave axe-wielding soldiers decided enough was enough and challenged this demon in combat, and their swings distracted it enough for a bullet to hit its throat, killing it. With their champion dead, the tribals finally backed off, having taken truly staggering casualties compared to what they'd managed to inflict. This was a true victory for mankind. It was proof that their technology can beat the magic of this world. But some questions remained unanswered, such as what had happened to the base's original garrison, and perhaps related, what was going on at that ritual site that the Scouts and the Legion had never reached. Those were questions for another day though. For now, the soldiers were going to get some well-earned rest. Hey, I just want to say, if you liked the video and own Arma 3, I'm in the process of running an Arma campaign to follow up on the events of this mission. Come join my unit for more info. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, leave a comment to let me know if you like the Zeus stuff or would rather I keep to the more on-the-ground footage, and of course, a special thank you to my channel members who make this all possible. Thanks for watching guys, and see you all soon.